What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the QUAYVISION Board podcast. I am joined today by a special guest, Cathy. We was talking before we started recording for a little bit, and she laid out some crazy stuff. So I'm just going to let you introduce yourself and tell the people who you are, what you're about, and then let's just get it going from there.
Well, Quay, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me onto your podcast. I'm really excited about this conversation today. Hi, everybody. My name is Cathy Trin. I'm based out here in sunny Southern California. And I'll just give you just some statistics from a high level. I'm 44 years old. I'm a immigrant refugee from Vietnam. And I'm a business owner. I'm also an author. I published 2 books during COVID. The first book was called The Journey, Mastering the Art of Slowing Down into a Beautiful Existence. And then the second book, actually, I had an opportunity to collaborate with a group of amazing, powerful Asian women. And it was called Asian Women Who Boss Up. And that book in 2 weeks actually became a #1 bestseller in 3 countries.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Wow. Boss up. I'm gonna have to get that to Steph so she can check that out, because
I'll get you guys a coffee.
She needs to boss up in a real way. So, but that's awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for coming through. I know you're incredibly busy with your whole schedule and all the things that you're doing. So we kind of want to get into a topic. What's the topic that we're getting into today? What are we talking about?
To not play a small game in life and to be able to take risk when you're afraid.
So I know, I usually talk a lot on these podcasts. So this is a powerhouse right here. This is a powerful woman, and she has a lot of knowledge. So I'm gonna just go ahead. I'm gonna be listening for the most part, because I'm gonna try to gain as much knowledge as I possibly can and chime in when I feel necessary. But I just kind of want you to take the floor and just kind of share a little about the topic and what we're going to be getting into today.
Absolutely. So oh my gosh, I'm extremely grateful to have your platform to be able to share my message.
Yeah.
And obviously before I got to where I'm at today in my life, there was just been a lot of things that I had to walk through. I walked through the fire, and it's just like the ashes, the phoenix rising from the ashes.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely where I feel extremely strong today, but there was a lot of work involved.
I can imagine.
A lot of work involved. And so just a little bit about my background, where I came from, what happened to me, and who I strive to be on a daily basis is all the work that I've done. So just a quick note, this sounds traumatic, but I've shared my story so many times that, it's just part of my DNA today. Like I said, I'm a refugee immigrant from Vietnam, and we escaped a communist country back in 1978. Our little boat was rescued from the middle of the ocean after 7 days stranded at sea.
Wow.
So our boat was lost at sea for 7 days without any food, no water.
How old were you?
I was about 1.5,
Okay.
and my parents were teenage parents at the time. And so they were about 18, turning 19. And so after 7 days, after the Thailand pirates had attacked our little boat, we were left with nothing. It was completely devastating. And we were, by God's grace, we were rescued by a U.S. Navy ship that found us.
Wow.
So from there, we went to an Indonesian refugee camp, and we were there for a year. And that's a long time to be in an immigration refugee camp with 20,000 other refugees.
Jesus, I couldn't even imagine.
Now, 20,000 people sound like a lot, but there were millions of people that actually tried to flee the country, and over 500,000 people were lost at sea.
Oh my God.
So the amount of people that were in these refugee camps in a lot of different countries on the border of the Pacific coast, that's not that many compared to the people that were lost and died.
Yeah.
So that from there, we're so lucky. We did get we did get sponsored, and I'm just beyond blessed that I did get to the United States, and I got sponsored to the OC of all places, right?
Yeah.
So Orange County, from a refugee camp to Orange County, California. So I've grown up here, and unfortunately, just little trials. I did get into drugs and alcohol at a young age.
Okay.
I did dabble in, drugs. I didn't realize that it was an addiction. I was just really body image conscious, and, the whole body dysmorphia, you don't like your body. And I'm sure there's people out there right now that if you look at one body part, there's something that you don't like about yourself.
Absolutely.
And I did not like a lot of things about myself for a very long time. And unfortunately, I grew up in a blue collar household. So I grew up in the United States. And so my English and Vietnamese was just it was so mixed up, and I didn't have anybody to talk to. So fast forward, during college, got caught up with a guy, and he was older. So I thought he knew better. And I started doing, unfortunately, crystal methamphetamines, and that I did it for a year, 6 months before graduation, and then 6 months after graduating college. I've had a lot of loss in my life. I've lost jobs. I've lost my self-respect. I've lost my dignity. I lost myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. So by God's grace, I was able to get myself into recovery at a young age. So I have been, what we call in recovery, trudging the road of happy destiny. And I've been trudging this road for 20 years. Was it perfect? No.
Right.
Did I think initially when I came into recovery when I was 22 that I was going to be tiptoeing through tulips and holding hands and sing Kumbaya? Absolutely not. I got married. I've been divorced. I've had multiple relationships with toxic people.
Yeah.
But what I discovered was I was the one that was toxic. I was the one that people needed to stay away from because I wasn't a safe person. I learned how to run at a very young age.
Let's talk about that real quick, because you said that you had to kind of like look at yourself and know and realize that you were the toxic person. Like what type of steps do you take in order to kind of come to that realization with yourself?
Well, the steps 5 years after being clean and sober, I needed more. Mm-hmm. Like I said, something was still wrong with me.
Yeah.
I was still extremely codependent. I was very unhealthy. My eating habits were horrible.
Yeah.
I couldn't get myself to the gym. I've paid so much money for therapy and personal development programs. I own over 200 self-help books.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't even, and every time I feel like I took my will back. I was running on my own free will,
yeah.
And we battle with that. We as just human beings in general, we don't know how to turn our will and our life over to anything.
Yeah.
So I took it back, and the steps that I took was at 5 years, I ended up going to a Tony Robbins event. And the energy there was amazing.
Crazy.
There's 5,000 people and ready to walk on fire with Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
I go into, and I love that environment. But I remember leaving these events. And if you're not in the conversation, as I mentioned to you earlier, yeah. you're just back into your old stinking thinking.
Yeah, you're not in it. Yeah.
You're not in it. So I would pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go to these events and come back home and start thinking the same way.
Yeah.
So what I put in place was I started putting practices in place,
yes.
tools in place, morning rituals. They're not even routines. They were rituals that what I've learned is that we can't rely on yesterday's spiritual experience to keep us sane today.
Absolutely.
So those were the steps, and I started searching for more, and I ran across a lot of coaches. So I have friends, NFL players, and head coaches of NFL teams, executives, corporate America, yeah. Blue collar, white collar. I learned so much, and I started absorbing the qualities of what an extraordinary human being looks like.
Absolutely. It's crazy because like I had a podcast a couple weeks ago with a friend of mine, Simeon, and we was kind of discussing something similar to that. It's like when you surround yourself with people who are doing the things that you kind of want to do or doing better than you, or just living life on the right and in the right terms, so to speak, that energy starts to rub off on you in a major way, right? So I tell people all the time, it's like me being a creative in this space. When I first started off, I was super intimidated to get into the business because like I didn't realize like my own potential, right? So I like making a video was like, I didn't want to put it out because I didn't feel like people would like it. I didn't feel like people would vibe with it. But once you start hanging around with people that are doing the things that you're doing and seeing how easy they are at navigating the industry and navigating the world in of itself, you start to realize it's not that scary, right? You just have to like take action, put your foot out and just do it, right? And then, 3 years ago when I started this thing to 3 years later, I would have never have guessed I'd be where I am today in terms of like all the camera equipment that I've had, starting a podcast, sitting next to somebody like you, talking about business and life and things like that. And all of that happened because I decided to just put out a video and started reaching out to people and say, hey, I'm doing this now, right?
Right.
So it's just really powerful when you start to surround yourself with people like that. And there's a lot of power that comes into like, I just want to do something that somebody else is doing. But you can look at somebody that's doing something great and be like, oh, I'm never going to be able to get to that point. But you can't necessarily think like that, because if you're, like I said, if you're thinking like that and you're not putting yourself in the conversation, you're just out of it and you're never going to be able to get to that point.
Right. And no, I love that. And I'm very proud of you,
Appreciate
for putting yourself out there. There's in order for us to be an extraordinary human being, we have to do extraordinary things.
100%.
We have to roll the dice and throw and put our neck on the line for something. But what I've discovered is the passion for what you do has to be discovered, and you have to know why you're doing what you're doing. I and a lot of people that I don't talk to, and when I go and speak with them, they're overwhelmed with the capacity of being this unbridled self-expression.
Yeah.
And I have no fear, and I'm just really grateful that I go to certain 12-step programs or whatnot. And I sit there and I realize what I've realized by sitting there with or what we call old timers is that we are all the same. We have all the fears. We have a lot of credentials behind our name. Yeah. We have as much money as you have in the bank. You've got titles, but we are all the same. Absolutely. We're all in the same boat together.
Absolutely.
We really 100%. Are. And just taking risks and playing a big game in life. So I've been trained to continuously be able to think as a creator and to create possibilities and be the voice for, since I'm Asian American, be the voice that for women that have not been able to have the opportunity as in leadership as I have. Yeah. So I'm really, really passionate about that, and that's essentially who I wake up being. But I have to practice it.
You have to put that in practice every single day, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's like you can even look at people that are out here that seems like they've made it, right? Making millions of dollars. They have all the fame that you can ever want, cars, the houses, the big bank accounts. But those are the same people that also have to wake up every day and put that same type of energy into practice. What got them there, they have to kind of continue doing the same things, have the same mindset, move the same type of ways. It's not just like, oh, I made $1 million and I can just sit back and rest on my, that's not the case. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, because I know a lot of people that, especially because I was a personal trainer for 10 years before I got into, the whole videos and stuff like that. So one of my big goals in life, because I started training at 20 years old, one of my big goals in life was to open a gym, have my own space, and then kind of just like branch off from there, right? And I used to look at myself as a young personal trainer, thinking to myself, it's like, I'm never going to be able to open up a gym. Coming from where I come from, low income family, things like that, that stuff doesn't happen to people like me.
Right.
But once I put myself out there as a trainer, and I kept putting myself and forcing myself into these conversations, into these circles, I started to realize it's like, I am worthy. Like I do have what it takes to make it in this life. Right. And I was able to maintain my own personal training business for 10 years, seeing hundreds and thousands of clients and whatnot. And I made that happen. It got to a point where I was a 22-year-old kid and I was able to move out of my parents' house, buy my own car and do all these other things. And then I didn't realize that stuff was capable for people like me. So for me, it's like, the platform that I have, I always try to tell people that are coming up and then trying to do whatever they want to do in life. It is so important to have coaches, to have mentors, to have people in your circle that's going to not only guide you, but also kind of like get on you a little bit when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're messing up a little bit, because we all need that. And we all need that kick in the butt, because I'm someone that when I was getting into this whole camera space, I had somebody like, we had like a creator group of people that was looking to do the same things that we were doing, and there was this one person in the group named Simeon. I reference this guy a lot because he's one of the reasons why I'm so developed into my career as a creator now than I would be 3 years ago, is because he pushed me, not necessarily just like him getting on the phone with me every day. It's like, oh, Q, you got to do this, but me seeing him do something that we came from the same space, we come from the same world, and he's out here doing the stuff that he's doing. And I'm just like, what makes him, like, he's not doing anything special. Right. So why can't I just come in and do that? And
absolutely. I totally resonate with everything you're saying. I have a very strong will, and very extremely passionate. And that sometimes my passion, well, back then, before I knew better, the passion got me into a lot of trouble. I'm the eldest of 3 girls, and unfortunately, the relationship I had with my mother was stagnant. There was not a lot of communication, and in life, it's all about conversations. Yeah. And what I realized is there was a lot of things that I didn't get from my mother, and I sought it out in relationships or other women, and constantly the need for approval or validation. And what I did was I walked around with this empty shell, and there was a pain in my heart. And I felt like my heart was almost like Swiss cheese. It had holes all over the place, constantly trying to fill the gaps, And so every person that would come into my life, they would use their finger and just, stop the bleeding. For a minute, but when they would leave our lives, the bleeding keeps stopping, keep going. So what you said, I mean, that's just my mindset too. We are the compilation of the top 5 people that we work with, deal with. So one thing about me is, since 19 years old up until now 44, I have held the same career. I am an executive recruiter. I own an executive search firm called Recruiter Hustle Incorporated. Awesome. Our foundation is laid with heart, hustle, and being human. And I've been very extremely successful for many years. But I had to keep working on myself because there was just a lot of heartache, building businesses and whatnot. But I've been very fortunate to be able to speak to the top of the top echelons from startup companies that go IPO, all the way up to Fortune 500 companies as well. Yeah. So from a leadership standpoint, it was just ingrained in me. And I had a high level of curiosity as well. And so that my curiosity in interviewing candidates, to asking them, how did you get to this point? Harvard graduate, you're a CFO at this company right now. And the great thing is that not only did I get to see them from a professional level, I got to see their heart from a personal level too. And I just realized that I have that in me too.
Yeah, 100%. And I kind of want to I want you to touch on a little bit about because you've come from some pretty humbling circumstances, right? Coming over here in this country as a very young kid, parents weren't necessarily, you're basically an immigrant, right? So you took that and you gotten through college and you went through your phase of addiction. How do you go through all that and then turn your life around completely to be a successful businesswoman that you are today?
I love that question. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So because I came into recovery for so long, it was drilled in us to pick up the phone and ask for help.
Yeah.
It's so hard for us overachieving, just overachievers, right?
Right.
To ask for help, because a lot of times when we walk around, with our nice cars and everything, but deep inside, it's hard for us to ask for help because there's ego and pride that's in play.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so what I learned for the past 20 years, and it's been ingrained in me, is love and service.
Right.
And if you have a heart of being a servant, you will be able to give back to others.
Yeah.
So a lot of people ask me, they say, Cathy, when I'm in front of you, how do you have so much positivity? Why do you have so much passion on a regular basis? Yeah. And I say to them, my cup is overfloweth. It really is. All you're receiving from me here right now is the overflow of the love that I've discovered for myself.
I love that so much.
It's just the overflow.
That's it.
And it is.
It's really
and I
that
constantly
simple.
flow, and I constantly add more to my cup. So there is an idea that I have.
Right.
It's like a water fountain. If you visualize a water fountain, you and I are in our peer group. You're extremely successful in certain areas. I'm extremely successful in other areas. Now we've come together. There's this collaboration where we're able to speak to each other on a very professional level, a very high level.
Yeah.
Right. There's no more, how can I help you? How can I bring you up? Right.
Right.
So we're peer groups. So you and I are in the center of the peer. So there's 3 tiers. We're in the center. Mm-hmm. And I am feeding off of you. I call you up. It's just like a business mastermind.
Yeah.
And we feed off of each other's energy. And we have to, as our peer group, we also have to, because our cup is being overfloweth by people from above us.
Yes, absolutely.
When you don't create space for yourself, it needs to flow out. So we have to find people that do need our service.
Absolutely.
So we find that those people, we start teaching them. We acquire the knowledge, but we start teaching them. We start giving it away, whether for fun, for free, or for a charge, right?
Yeah.
We give it to them, we teach them, and we share with them. And in order when you do that, it allows us to have space so that more knowledge from the top of the fountain can keep flowing into us. So it's the circle of life.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. That's amazing, because there's one thing, and I kind of lost my train of thought, but there's one thing that you were saying is because one of the reasons why I asked that question, first of all, is I kind of sense that there's a lot of people that would watch this that are in that space now where they're thinking about, maybe do I, go into this business venture that I'm thinking of, or maybe do I, do whatever it is they're trying to do. And I just want to kind of reiterate to people out there that all you have to do is just start. And once you start, you kind of get around people that are doing what you want to do. And you just, like you said, you just kind of get that flow of just overflow of love from them. And like I said, it's a circle of life, right? So you get all that abundance of love, and then you start to do your thing, and you start to go in your own way, and then you start to become successful, and all that love overflow and just keeps going and keeps going. I've never heard it in that term, so I'm super happy that you laid it out like that. But that's exactly how, life is supposed to happen. We, as a creative, me, myself, like I acquire so much information. I'm watching YouTube constantly of all these other creators doing amazing things. I'm constantly getting advice and guidance from other people that are doing the same things. And all that information that I'm getting, I want so much to just kind of like lay that out for the next person in line, right? And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast, is because I kind of want to share with people that are sitting at home thinking about doing something, to just kind of like give them that little push to kind of just get out there and just do it.
Absolutely. And so for those of you who are watching and want to start the podcast or want to build the business or want to get that college degree, it just takes that one class.
Yeah.
And you just have to take it. It's like building blocks. It really is. You know, you take the class, and that's what I did. In 2007, I took that one class when I said, I need something. And I walked into a graduation night of a personal development leadership program that I had no idea 14 years later, it was going to launch me into becoming a businesswoman in the 21st century. I had no idea. And I started surrounding myself with the same mindset. It's all about mindset.
Absolutely.
And it's all about an abundance mindset as well.
Yeah.
If you come from a place of scarcity, you will not be able to have any space at all. And when I say creating space, it really is. It's you have no space if you're partaking in toxic relationships, or you've built 15 businesses. You have opened up 15 doors in the universe, and you don't know what door to walk through today because it's chaos.
Yeah.
I ran on adrenaline, and even though I'm really intense already, I ran on adrenaline because it's an addiction also. You know, I realized at some point in my life, the reason was because I was a workaholic. And I have very addictive tendencies. When I want something, I'm going to get it. And I created no space to allow other good things into my life. I created space today for us to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
And so it's been a really amazing opportunity to also look within. So that's another thing also. In order for you to want to learn about what you're seeing out there on external, everything that you need is within you already.
Absolutely.
And anything that you need for today, and that's why we say just for today, is within you. If you want to have love, you need to be able to have that self-love for yourself. So the reason why I decided to go with the theme of mastering this art of slowing down is so that we can get rid of the distractions. Right now, and it's been going on for centuries, we are distracted by multi-billion-dollar marketing schemes or budgets. Okay, not schemes, excuse me, guys, but budgets that keeps us distracted.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when we open up a social media, it just there's a tension there. Wherever your focus is where your energy goes.
Yeah.
And that's why
100%.
a lot of people can't accomplish their mission because of all of these distractions. So when you master this art of being able to sit still and listen to your own intuition, most likely your guidance, you will be guided to your highest self.
I tell people all the time, like, because people, they look at my life and the things that I do on a daily basis. So like, especially like within the last month or two, I've been snowboarding a lot. And people was like, oh, like, are you working? Or you always look like you're playing. And it's like, and I tell people, I'm busy, and then I go snowboarding. It's like, you're not busy. You're going, like, no, that's important for me and my own personal growth and development. Because if I don't have that me time on a normal basis, I'm going to self-destruct and I'm not going to be any good to anybody. So I can sit in my office and work until my eyes turn red, or I can kind of like, start scheduling some time off to myself and just kind of do the things that I like to do, things that I enjoy doing. Because it's like you said, it's easy to fall into that work mentality, especially when you, like I said, when you pop on social media, everybody's already doing something that's, somebody's flashing this amount of cash, somebody's flashing a brand new car, somebody's just bought a house, and you're just like, man, if I'm gonna get there, I gotta go back to work, right? And it's really easy to kind of get trapped into that, but you're gonna have to balance that work life and play life a little bit, and not necessarily play life, but just a life that you can be happy about and something that you can just do on a normal basis and not feel regret. Because I feel like that's what a lot of people, they don't take a lot of time off, or they don't take those trips, or because they feel regret and they feel like, oh, if I take this, I'm not going to be providing for my family and things like that. But in reality, if you do take that trip, if you do go to that place, you might develop a new mindset. You might talk to somebody randomly and just open up something else in you that's going to push you to that next level.
Absolutely. So I love that, work hard, play hard. I'm just that is my mantra as well.
Yeah.
But my original book title was going to be Don't Die with Unused Vacation Days.
Man, there's so many people that do that. It's crazy.
Right? So we're working hard. There's a dangling carrot. You come out into this world and something's wrong with you already.
Yeah.
They're eye drops and they're patting you in the back and they're having you cry. And all of a sudden something's wrong with us. Yeah. So then now we're constantly trying to prove ourselves that nothing is wrong with us. And so we go into the rat race, right? And then the dangling carrot, graduate high school, graduate college, play all the sports that everybody else is playing, and land the job. You get into a box car. You wake up in a box home, actually, get into a box car, go into the box office, and then come back the same. Yeah. Because you're not taking risk.
Yeah.
You're not living outside. You're in the matrix. There's a lot of people that's still in the matrix. Yeah. You have to allow yourself to go out and you have to go seek Morpheus. You really do.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. But talk a little bit more, because I feel like that's a big topic, because a lot of people need to hear that. Talk about the importance of taking more risk, because a lot of people, they calculate their risk, and you should calculate your risk. I'm not saying that you shouldn't calculate your risk, but you should be able to put yourself in a position to take more risks. Do the things that you want to do in life, get into some circles that you didn't think you can get into, and just kind of force your way into there. So talk a little about the importance of actually just putting yourself out there and taking more risks.
Well, I'm looking back at my life, and why I am the woman that I am today. Mm-hmm. I had a hard time already walking into a recovery meeting and feeling accepted. And because everybody had, I always say this, I wanted blue eyes and blonde hair so I can fit in.
Yeah, no.
That's not going to be the case ever for the rest of my life. No. But when I started doing discovery work for myself, I started realizing that I've been trying to fit into the societal norms that has been given already with my birthright. Right. And so I am as an Asian woman of Asian descent, I was expected to live within these cultural norms, to get married, to feed our children, to raise our children. Unfortunately, like at some point in my life, I said at the age of 31, I didn't want a child. I didn't, but my dad had forced me to, because I was having so much fun. Yeah. And my dad said, it's you have to procreate. Mm-hmm. And so he pushed me to go and get married and find, and just do everything. But because I had already seen what I've seen in those dark alleyways, I said, I really hope nobody knows my secrets. I did have a different view of the world. And so I already had never felt like I fit in. So when I went into start doing self-discovery work and looking for coaches and mentors, and like you said, people started sharing with me things that were mind-blowing.
Oh my God.
Devastation at the core of humanity. I started seeing that, and I started sensing that, and I started seeing the brutality towards human beings towards each other. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I put my neck on the line every single day. And what I want to say to those who are listening right now, just be brave.
Yes.
Just have a little bit of courage to, if you feel like you've hit the glass ceiling, or if you feel like you've hit the bottom of the barrel, and you're scraping emotionally, not only in alcohol or drugs or whatever, or overeating and binging on food and whatnot, but if you've hit the bottom and on the outside looks good, but on the inside you're dying, just ask for help. And that's how you're able to start. And it's just taking that one class or that one course. And it's the course of life. You don't have to go and pay for anything. It's just being able to ask. And everybody is, I always say that there's a lot of teachers out there. You know, I'm a teacher on some days, but I'm going to be forever the student.
Absolutely. You have to be. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So taking risk, putting yourself out there, sharing your story authentically. You know, my book, in recovery, we call it the fourth step. And when you take your inventory in the fourth step and you hand it over on the fifth, when you do your fifth, it's very, very life-changing. Because you are letting another human being, all the dark secrets that you've had and all the resentments, all the shame that you've had around a certain financial issue of a relationship that you took advantage of, and you take your part on it. So I have put my fourth step on the market.
There you go.
And it's extremely embarrassing in the beginning. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to be brave because I do have a purpose. Because people need to hear the story and the truth has set me free.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit because a lot of people, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of videos, inspirational quotes and, you know, TED Talks and things like that out there of people that are successful in telling other people just put yourself out there, just do this. You're going to be embarrassed at the first, but talk a little about the embarrassing stage, right? Because I feel like a lot of people don't hear that part enough because it's some things for me when I started to understand and realize that other people's embarrassing moments when they were first starting out was a lot similar to mine. The fear of not, you know, doing a good job for somebody or the fear of not doing putting out such a great video. These are fears that people have. And one of the things that got me to go through that was just to kind of like push through and just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Share your creation with other people that, you know, you kind of vibe with and know that you're trying to, you know, go on the right foot. And so you can get that positive feedback, but share a little about your journey and the whole embarrassing stage, the beginning stage, and how rough was that for you to get through, what you did to get through it, and how did you overcome some of the things that you were necessarily afraid of?
So, gosh, that's there's so much to unpack and share.
Yeah.
But there has been, when I look back at my life today, there has been at least 4 or 5 major incidences in my life where I actually take full accountability for it. I am responsible to a certain degree.
Yes.
I don't take full responsibility of it because of whether it was the circumstance that I put myself in, but there were people, I had taken advantage of people have taken advantage of me. I was sexually assaulted, for example, when I was 15 years old. For a very long time, I took the burden of that was my fault for ditching school that day. And I'm part of the 2% statistic of being sexually assaulted by a stranger instead of someone that we know.
Wow.
And I took on the burden of not sharing that for a very long time, for over 30 years, until I came out with my book and I said, look, yes, I ditched school that day to go see my high school sweetheart.
Right.
And I got attacked because I jumped into a car hitchhiking.
Oh, wow.
And so how I have been able to characterize that experience and how the mission that I wanted to go, a rescue mission for other women, is don't hitchhike through life.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
You wake up in the morning and you don't hitchhike anymore. You start getting self-aware of your surroundings. Because when you wake up in the morning, your subconscious mind is what will eat you up alive. And if you don't reach out, when we are suffering with our secrets and we don't say this is what happened to us, the phone becomes like 1,000-pound elephant that you can't even lift up anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of things I always say is, to call 2 people a day and see how they're doing. It's not about us anymore. It really isn't. You know, we have to get out of ourselves. And it starts becoming, that could start becoming a practice too. How hard is it to pick up the phone and dial 2 people a day to just see how they're doing?
Right. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't seem that hard. But once, like you said, once you like neglect it for so long, that phone gets heavier and heavier and heavier.
And it becomes, and then you start getting into isolation. And then the negative mindset starts sinking in. So I had a negative mindset for a very long time.
Yeah.
So then the second incident that happened to me, which I learned from, it was drug addiction, and how far down the scale that we have gone and into the rabbit hole that I went when I didn't let anybody know that my life was out of control. I'd landed a job. It was in the same career that I'm embarrassingly enough. I landed a job, and it was the second day on the job. It was 9/11. And so 9/11 now I discover was actually is an angel sign for me. Like 11/11 and 9/11, but it wasn't, it is an angel sign for me. On the second day on the job, I remember I was loaded that day. And after the second plane had hit, I turned to this Middle Eastern woman, because I thought, we're Asian, right? We're all from the same, from the same mindset. And I said some really disgraceful things it was like an attack towards, what was happening.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I remember everybody was walking out or into a conference room completely in shock and crying. I was asked by the VP to pack up my stuff and leave the office.
Wow.
And so that was a very shameful incident for me, because as the world was hurting, my heart was numb. And so I told myself for a very long time that if you knew who I was, you're not going to like me because I'm a drug addict. Don't you know who I am? Because I'm a bad person.
Right.
And so I made it a point every time I would interview a candidate, for example, I would always skip the 9/11 time period.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to ask them what happened during that time, because it was a shameful moment. So losing jobs, losing relationships, going back to toxic relationships when we knew that the toxic relationship was devastating, I kept on going back. And I've had a lot of relationships. I am a relationship addict, but what I realized is it was codependency.
Yeah. No, that's a real thing.
It's a huge thing. Right. It's codependency. It's the constant seek for validation. And when your mental health is not well, you will take the ship down with you.
Yeah.
I had a very, very bad tendency to burn the bridge, to burn the boat, light the river on fire, and jump right into it. That was my thing, because I was so hurt. I would sabotage every single thing in my life just for the sake. And there's a quote out there that says, I lit myself on fire to keep another person warm. And that caused resentment.
Yeah.
Because it came from a place of jealousy, envy, and fear. And I no longer live that way anymore. Right. I have to take every night, Quay, I have to take what we call a 10th step. And the 10th step is to take inventory of how we behave that day. Yeah. And then by the end of the night, can you sleep well? Do you owe an amends to someone? Did you hurt someone today?
Yeah.
And I also do, part of my routine at night is to write, to journal. Of course, journaling is so amazing. I'm sure everybody out there that is in personal development or in recovery, we have to be gently reminded to journal, to continue to do self-recovery, as well as getting current with our lives. Because there is no survival if you are living an incomplete life.
Yes.
If you've hurt someone last week, that's going to keep carrying over until you make an apology.
Absolutely.
So I take the 10th step at night, every single night. And I also write down 3 things that I'm grateful for, but also 3 things that I have no control over, that I'm powerless over. And that I will turn over to God every single day.
Oh, that's awesome. The thing about journaling. So this is kind of slightly off topic, but whatever. Being a personal trainer for 10 years, right? I used to do this thing because when you're trying to get into personal training and you get into fitness and you're dealing with clients that want to lose weight, get healthier, things like that, that whole journey and that process is so much more about just the fitness, right? And a lot of people don't realize that. So what I used to tell my clients all the time is it's a form of journaling, but I kind of do it into a form of like writing down your meal prep of your day type of thing, right? So what I would have them do is you take a full page in like a notebook. One side of the page, you can get like, just write out your overall day, like what things that you have planned for today. And you can kind of check those off as the day goes. Below that, write down what time you woke up, what time you went to sleep, what time you had your first meal, and each meal after that. The other side is like a chart, like a line graph. And on the bottom line is each hour of the day or each major hour of the day. It's like 10 a.m., 12 a.m., whatever. And I would have them on the opposite, the Y scale, I would have them write 1 through 5. And you would write on the 10 a.m., how did you feel at 10 a.m.? Did you feel a 5, which is really good? Did you feel at a 1, which is not that good, right? And then you write that and you graph it throughout the day. And then you, at the end of the day, you go back and look at your overall journal entry. It's like, okay, at 1:00 p.m., I wasn't feeling good. What did I do at 1:00 p.m., right? What type of food did I eat? At what point of my schedule of the day was that? Oh, I didn't get this done. And I ate like crap. So at 1:00 p.m., I felt like shit. So now you can go back and look at exactly what's causing you to be at a point where you're not feeling well, and you can correct it. And it becomes easy to correct something because you can see exactly what it is that is causing you to be in a dumps, right? So like, 5:00 p.m. rolls around, you're not feeling that well. What happened at 5? Oh, I had a date and I got canceled. And because I got canceled, I ate a tub of ice cream. It's like, yeah, that's direct reason why you felt bad. So next time when that happens, have a backup plan. You can kind of go back and kind of adjust your life accordingly type of thing. So you're no longer just guessing, right? Because one of the things I used to hate when clients used to come in for a training session, I was like, oh, so how was your day? How you feel today? It's like, oh, I feel good. It's like, yeah, but do you, right? It's easy for us to just say like, oh, I feel good. So we don't have to like be forced to kind of share the lows of our day. But once you start getting to the point where you're comfortable sharing the lows of your day and why stuff happened, because a lot of times it's not because of you, or it is because of you, whatever the case, but at least you know exactly what it is, how to navigate it, and how to kind of like get yourself out of that point. So now you're basically coaching yourself. And a lot of people have gotten a lot of success through that. And yeah, so just...
Right. I mean, you ended what you said on the word success, and I was actually going to start on the word success.
Yeah.
Your success in life and anything you do is the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
And your success is going to be contingent upon your participation in your life. And however that looks like. Now, if you want to play a small game, you're going to win a small prize.
Absolutely.
If you have a big game, constantly, let's go out there. We're going to put ourselves out there. And how are we playing? And it's contingent upon our behaviors. And it's contingent upon our habits.
Yeah.
It's our eating habits. You just hit that in every area. So when I'm out there coaching as well, because I do mindset coaching and abundance mindset coaching, I have people... Because as humans, we can get things very complex, right? We can look at all areas of our lives, and there's so many areas that we want to work on. We get so excited about this, 15 different projects later, we have so many dream goals, right?
Right.
But I try to simplify our lives as much as we can.
You have to.
So there's a quadrant.
Yeah.
You break it down into 4 pieces. It's health and fitness in one. The other area is finances. How are you supporting yourself?
Right.
How much money do you want in the bank? And you write these goals down, and then relationships. The most important part of this quadrant is relationships. Not only the relationship that you have with your with others, but it is truly the relationship that you have with yourself. And that's, we hear a lot of women and men talking about self-care. A lot of times when I talk to men, they're like deer in headlights. They're like, self-care, they have a different, mindset behind that. But it's, take a bubble bath. Who cares? Go get your pedicure.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Go get a massage. That could be self-care too.
That's a big one.
Yeah, huge, right? And go get chiropractic care. It's preventative. We have to be like, first of all, we have to become aware of what the problem is.
Absolutely.
And then when you have the awareness, and that's why a lot of the programs out there are designed the way it's designed. For example, like for a food addict, we have to go into a program of some sort. And if when you hit your bottom, you say, I am a compulsive eater and my life is unmanageable.
Right.
In the admittance of that, it answers all of your problems.
There you go.
Now you have something to work on.
Exactly. Now you know exactly where it lies and what you need to do to kind of rectify.
Oh, absolutely. You can't have, we can't be out there. If we want to go look for the treasure, we kind of have to have a little bit of a roadmap and a blueprint and say, okay, X marks the spot.
Yeah. Like you can't go searching for gold without a map to kind of lead you to what you're searching for, right?
Right. To have that goal. So goal setting is extremely important.
Extremely.
And even if you write the goals on a regular basis, and if it could be as extraordinary as wanting to be on a TED Talk.
Yeah.
You want to go and if you can imagine, and I'm actually doing my TED Talk in December in Vancouver, Canada. And, I'm on a mission. I'm also, one of my goals in the next couple of years is to also run for governor for the state of California.
That's awesome.
Or potentially, I'm going to do some research on this as well, but for a U.S. representative. Mm-hmm. And in fact, right now we're in the planning stages to hold a press conference in Atlanta, Georgia.
Talk about it.
There is a candidate. His name is Al Bartel, and he's running for the governor position of the state of Georgia. And he has personally invited me to come and partner with him because he is actually making a public apology to Vietnamese women on behalf of the United States.
That's amazing.
And I'm going to be there to accept that public apology, to let them know that we were just there to support the U.S. war soldiers.
That's amazing.
So that we can protect them and we can love them so that they can come back with their human spirit intact.
Absolutely.
So I'm so excited about this partnership right now. So the press conference is going to be held during summer. And, there's just so much work out there, guys. Yes. We have to be foot soldiers. We are warriors. There's a lot of survivors out there. And if you're listening right now, you're a survivor. There was a calling, and the calling was to listen to this podcast today.
Yes. And
you called forth myself and Quay today.
Yes.
To hear us, to listen, because we hear you. We've been you. And it's hurt. I've been hurt so much. There's so many situations that I've gotten myself out of. I dust myself off. I am the bounce back queen. I know it.
There you go.
After I was diagnosed with cancer in 2018, I knew I needed to make a change in my life.
Oh, wow.
And I knew that if I did not do what I was doing, I was going to die. And so I had to go for 5 times a week to the doctors. By the second surgery, I had to go into radiation treatment. And that's when I started formulating my book. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm going to have to put this book out in the market. I already was in isolation before COVID hit, because I had to be in radiation isolation for a whole month. I was out in Riverside at a friend's home for a whole month without any human contact. And so, with that, I was able to slow my life down. I was forced to slow down. And now I'm practicing the beautiful practice of slowing down into a beautiful existence. And my life has been nothing but extraordinary, and even in the dark times.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, that was amazing. I really appreciate you sharing all of that. It was a lot. For one, it was a lot, but there was a lot of really good information in that. And for people that are listening, just that we threw a lot of information at you in this one episode, but just the biggest thing that I can like tell people to take from this is just take it one step at a time. Just one step at a time. And then every so often you get to the point where you look back and you look at all these little baby steps and you look back and you be like, dang, I never would imagine I would be here, but you're not going to get there unless you take that first step. So take it from me, take it from Cathy. You have to just get out there and just step into your greatness and just be who you are. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Babies get up every time they fall.
Right.
Also. And there it was, 1979. I was 1.5 years old in the boat with my parents, and here I am today.
Yeah.
2022. I am a living testimony that if I can do it, you guys can do it too.
There it is, 100%. We're just like you guys. We're normal people that came up from normal type circumstances, some a little more rough than others, but the way you get past stuff like that is to just get out there, get into these circles, shake some hands, meet people, and just put yourself out there, man. We cannot stress that enough. Put yourself out there and just allow the love just to come in and just fill you up, right? So we're going to end this episode. I want to thank Cathy once again for coming through. It was amazing. This has been amazing talk. I would just want to always end these by just looking into your camera and just, if any advice you can give to somebody that's looking at this, whatever they ended up trying to do in life, whether it's business, mindset, or anything, what would that advice be?
My advice is just to take the first step, just as Quay had mentioned. And we've all been through it. And life is just, it really is it's a journey. It's not a destination. There isn't, when you learn one thing, you're going to start learning so many other things. And it's just, again, just going back to the original foundation of our podcast is take the risk. Don't play small, play a big game. And if you need any support, you know where to find me. So I am just, I'm just so profoundly honored to have a conversation. And look, I'm just like you guys too. I worked it and here I am. So thank you.
Amazing. And real quick, just to, so my viewers, so you know where to find Cathy, just let them people know where you're at, what your handles are, or where they can kind of find you.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram. It's Cathy Trin 2.0. And I'm also starting another Instagram page called Cathy's Inspo on the Go. So if you also want to email me, I'm at Cathy@cathytrin.com, or you can find me on my website for more inspiration as well. And it's cathytrin.com.
There you have it, man. So if you guys out there, if you like what Cathy had to say, make sure you get in tune with her, link up with her. She is an incredible woman, and as busy as she is, she still has time to answer her DMs and all that stuff. So reach out and ask her some questions, man, because she's somebody out here that is a big powerhouse and it just wants to help. So take advantage, hit her up, and we'll see you guys on the next podcast, man.
Okay.
Appreciate you guys.
See you guys.
All right.
I've been all in my bag. You been all in my business. You be all in your feelings. I've been all in them trenches. I've been all in my bag.